What do you expect out of the Vols when they hit the podium on Tuesday? There's a little disappointment, frankly, still, that I think that it could have been a better lineup with a Nico, a James Pierce. Those would have been two that I would have brought. I understand the reasoning behind not bringing them for a couple of different reasons. But what do you expect out of Cooper Mays, Omari Thomas, and Keenan Pili, of course, Josh Heupel, being representatives of the Vols? They play it pretty close to the vest. What do you think they'll have to say on Tuesday?
Well, I think Josh Heupel's going to be asked why he didn't bring Nico specifically. And I think he should be, because if I'm going to be honest with you guys, look at all the other quarterbacks that are being brought to SEC Media Days. Not all of them are returning were starters last year. I mean, everybody who has this is the year of the quarterback in the SEC, and everybody who has a potential star at the position or just a potential solid player is bringing him this year. And Josh Heupel held firm and said, nope, I'm going with the seniority move, so I'm not going to bring Nico. I would ask him about that. You got to ask about the issue with James Pierce and the traffic incident, because you got to wonder if that's why they kept James Pierce quiet. We spoke about those last week. As for the players themselves, I think Keenan Pili will be asked about his health and things like that. Omari Thomas will be asked about the defense as a whole, the front seven, how good it could be. Lots of questions about the front seven, because they're bringing two defensive front seven players. They didn't bring anybody from the secondary, so there should be questions about the secondary asked because of that. And then with Cooper Mays, I don't think there's a lot of questions, funny enough, about quarterback or receiver this year. I think what I'd want Cooper Mays to talk about, and we talk with him every week anyway, so it's not the same level, and he's talked to us some about this, but the offensive line rotation, because there's still a question at left guard, and also the running back situation. We don't really know who's going to emerge yet at running back, Dave, and that's still a major issue for Tennessee. So I think running back, offensive line, secondary, just how loaded could the front seven be? Those are all questions for the players at SEC Media Days this year.
Caleb, I want to share a little something, but I don't want to share too much. I am going to take the stance that with James Pierce, I understand not bringing him to SEC Media Days. And I can't share with you the reason why, but I can share that he's gone through some difficult situations, that putting him in front of a camera and hundreds of media members might not have been the best thing to do at this current moment in time. Now, the other side of me wants to say, well, he's going to have to do that in the NFL. And what happens if he makes a huge mistake and has to answer questions in the NFL? You pretty much have to do that. You can run away one or two times, but you're not going to be able to do it for the most time. But this is not something where you have to be a part of. So I'm going to say I'm okay based off what I've been told. I know I'm asking you to kind of take this leap of faith with me, but Caleb, I'm saying it's okay with James Pierce. That's my stance. Nico, I got no argument. I got zero. I mean, he should be here, and it is a shame. But with the players that are going to be here, I want to ask Keenan Pili personally, and I will ask him, what is it about his upbringing that makes him such a natural-born leader? Because from the people I talk to, he is right up there with leadership skills as far as anybody. And Caleb, his resume at UT is only about 80 plays. So that's saying something right there.
That is. It's been something we've been talking about for a while, that the team fell in love with Keenan Pili. Dave, I got to be honest. We talked about this last summer. We may have forgotten about it, but they fell in love with Keenan Pili last year before he got hurt in the opener against Virginia. It was. So there is a lot of love for Keenan Pili, the player. I think that's one of the storylines of Tennessee for SEC Media Days. Look, we could talk about James Pierce and Nico. You don't need SEC Media Days for storylines for them, do you? Those will be stories all year long. James Pierce and Maliava. Keenan Pili is one that is a storyline because nobody saw this coming, that he would emerge to be one of the biggest star players for Tennessee, despite having only played how many snaps?
Oh, I was guessing it was like 80. I don't really know. It was one game.
Yeah, I don't even think it was 80. He got hurt in the middle of the game, right?
Yeah, but he went out there, so we're guessing. It could be 40, it could be 20, it could be 60, it could be 80.
Yeah. It's it's shocking that he's this level of popular among the team. And I think the coaches love him. I think the players love him. And I think it should lead a lot of people to believe that Tennessee's will have an upgrade at middle linebacker this year if he's able to stay healthy. I think there's a lot of questions to ask. And that's why I talked about, I think one of the questions for Keenan Pili is just how good could this front seven be? If James Pierce is the star, Omari Thomas is coming to SEC Media Days for a second year in a row, and everybody believes in Keenan Pili as this elite of a player who Tennessee just missed out on last year at middle linebacker.
This sounds crazy. But Keenan Pili is Tennessee's, at least, if not higher, third most important player. And I think there could be a debate with Cooper Mays, because we had the after effect from Cooper Mays' return last year. So bear with me if you're on the message board and tell me if you get what I'm saying here. You saw how bad that Tennessee was up front without Cooper Mays against Florida, right?
Right.
And then you saw how much better they could be with a quarterback that had issues, right?
Right. Correct.
We never saw how much better the defense could be with Keenan Pili in there after an injury. So we don't truly know the upside. Could this be a Mike Singletary level, Ray Lewis level type of player that could take Tennessee up a notch just by his presence on the field? Yes, based off what I'm told, knock him up a notch, and don't be surprised when it happens, because he's that kind of leader. He's that kind of player. He knows the playbook that well. Kind of like Quality Tire Pro. They know your car that well, serving the Chattanooga community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive, brake alignments, oil changes, and more. All work is covered by a nationwide warranty. Cherokee Blvd or online at qualitytirepros.com, qualitytirepros.com. I'll say it right now. He's more important than James Pierce. Am I crazy?
Well, there is value over replacement where Keenan Pili is pretty high. And then there's just value where James Pierce is pretty high, because you don't get rare talent like James Pierce. There's a lot of other edge rushers on this team that are very good, whereas if Keenan Pili went down, you wouldn't be able to replace him as easy at middle linebacker. But Dave, while there are other edge rushers who are very good, there aren't edge rushers who are transcendently, historically great the way James Pierce is. So I think sometimes a historically great player, even if there's depth behind him, still outweighs a player who fills a void that would be much worse if he wasn't there. The other question is, and the only reason I somewhat push back on this is, we don't necessarily know how much of a drop-off there is for Tennessee this year at middle linebacker. Last year we saw it. All due respect to Elijah Herring, smart player, hard worker, everything you like in a player. Didn't have lateral quickness to play middle linebacker. Just didn't have enough of him.
He's a defensive end. Yes, Travis. Yeah. I said if Pili is Singletary or Ray Lewis. I didn't say he will be. Yeah, Elijah Herring's a defensive end. That's a simple fact about the matter.
Yeah. This year it's Jeremiah Thielander. And apparently he was very good in spring camp, Dave, which actually led Herring to hit the transfer portal. So I say that to say maybe there won't be the same drop-off from Pili to Thielander that there was last year. When you add the fact that Pierce is such a generational player, I mean, there's one player on Tennessee right now who could arguably go down. Like, let's say it, Dave. We could see James Pierce going down as a top 5 edge rusher in the history of the NFL one day, right? Like, he could outdo DeMarcus.
Well, that seems a little strong. Top 5?
Who would you take coming out of college, James Pierce or DeMarcus Ware?
I would actually take James Pierce.
Yeah, exactly.
But DeMarcus Ware is not a top 5 pass rusher of all time in the NFL.
No, he's not. I'm not talking about on the line defensive end. I'm talking about that hybrid outside linebacker on the line type of guy.
Let me make sure. Are you talking about top 5 in the NFL at a current moment in time, or top 5 all time?
All time, not pass rusher, because that would factor in like the defensive lineman who played on the line like Reggie White. No, I'm talking about edge rusher specifically. That, you know, what Jeremy Pruitt invented.
So I'm trying to help you here. So you're saying that the evolution of the game plays into your argument that
yes,
there are now edge capital EDGE. I hate the term, but they're edge rushers that are allowed to play with their hands down or not. And he could be that guy. So that term has only been around for what, like 5-7 years, something like that?
Yes, exactly. And he could be top 5 all time to play that role.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought you'd gone crazy Caleb on me, but you won me with that one. I'll say that. You're basically, instead of all time, you're saying past decade.
But so that's what I mean. Do you think Keenan Pili has a shot at being a top 5 middle linebacker in the NFL? I don't. I have a lot of respect for Keenan Pili, but I don't think he's a top 5 middle linebacker.
Not top 5 all time, but I think he can be good.